The mind is the lens through which you see life. And that is why every steward must steward their mind in order to be able to determine where they are going. It is very sentimental to everything that we do. Our mind is where we draw from in order to bring action. And that's why each and everyone's mind has to be clear. But of course, as we talk about this concept of positive mind, being able to harness your mind as a steward, of course, so many questions come to your mind. How do I do it? How do I even arrive to a place where I am commanding my mind and I am able to see fruit from the thoughts that I carry, from the things that I do? This is what we are going to be handling in this topic, because everything starts with our mind. Of course, think of it like a house where there is so much mess, so much clutter. In places where we live, in a house, for example, there are things, when we live in that place, of course, we use it and we leave it messy, we leave it cluttered, we leave it with so much that needs a cleanup. Now, I want to assure us that most of us never declutter. Most of us continue the course. We just continue in that direction. Life goes on. But yet, everything that goes within our minds, we cannot help but action on them. And some of these things are unconscious or consciously taken in. We live life where we are learning so many things. So many things, we've heard them and they have gone into our minds. We have interacted with some lies within us, and those lies are constantly defining our actions. They are constantly defining how we view life. And speaking of the mind as the lens through which we see life, it is very important that you and I declutter our mind and be able to have a clear vision. Because if your mind is cluttered, that means you won't have a clear view of how you need to see life. And think of it, we all go through situations, we all go through situations and circumstances, but someone views it differently. Someone is able to see it differently, and they're able to emerge grown in that situation. And yet someone easily gives up. It's not about the opportunity, it's about the mindset, the mind that this person has. And as stewards, we can't afford to carry a mindset that is letting us down, that is constantly pulling us down, a mind of defeat. We ought to have this mind that is celebrating us, this mind that tells us there is opportunity, this mind that keeps affirming. And of course, in this very show, this episode, we are going to handle how do we do this? How do we even bring ourselves to a place where we know that our mind needs some sort of declutter? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this show. So please stay tuned. Our thoughts shape our actions, like it or not. What you think automatically defines what you bring in action. Think about it. The things that we do on a daily, it's because we've thought about them. Everything that you have ever done, it starts with your mind. Just imagine if your mind is not rightly positioned, that means your actions are going to be not the actions that you would appreciate of yourselves. And as stewards, because every minute, every time, every opportunity matters, and that's why our mind has to be in a state that we celebrate. A state where you know that you are operating with a positive mind, but also a clear mind, so that you can be able to encounter the opportunities that are before you and realize fruit. I consider this proverb, and I was intrigued, as a man thinks, so he is. That means Your thought line defines who you are. No wonder. The thoughts that we have, what we think on, influences our choices. And our choices determine our habits, because then you will continue to choose that you have been thinking about. And so it will cultivate a habit. And a habit will bring the result, the things that you do that define now the you that we see. That's why it's very important for us to cultivate our thought, to cultivate what goes in our minds, but also how we are able to work our mind. And of course, we are going to be diving into all these. So stay tuned so that you can be able to hear these practical things that I will be sharing. We have 3 practical things that we are going to do as stewards in order to be on top of the game on this aspect, because we have understood how it influences our lives, how it shapes our thought line. And now that we know how important our mind is, what we think affects us. So now we are going to be looking at the 3 practical things that we can do as stewards to ensure that the mind is serving us right. We cannot stop the things that are going to be coming into our minds, but there are certain things that we can do for sure to see that it's not affecting us, because it shapes us. I like to think of this example. There is no one who will affirm you as much as you should affirm yourselves. And that brings us to a place where you do not wait for affirmation from anyone else. You are actually in a place where you know who you are and you're able to affirm that, so that there are no whispers of you're not good enough, of you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Affirm yourself. Because everything that you will ever do, be it business, be it family, be it work, it starts from you. And so if you are well put in terms of your mind, you are affirming yourself, you are constantly crediting you. It is okay to credit you. I know that people who say that let other people credit you. You should be the first person to affirm yourself. Affirm yourself of how you are enough. Affirm yourself of how you bring value wherever you go. Affirm yourself of how you are smart. Do not wait it from someone else. Because look at it, the person who has affirmed themselves and they know who they are, their approach to the day is different. Their approach to an assignment is different. The way they speak is different. And it is not that anything else has changed or the weather has changed or, it is them. And so they're able to see themselves and affirm themselves. And that is the place that we all need to be, where we are constantly affirming ourselves. Many times I wake up in the morning and I tell myself, you are beautiful. Isn't it interesting that people can see you as beautiful or as ugly, but there is no one who can affirm you as much as you. I have seen people who have been told you are beautiful and they go ahead and say, I think that's not me, that's someone else. And that affects you. It affects everything that goes on. And you are at people's mercy, because if someone has not affirmed you, then you don't feel good enough. You don't feel like you are beautiful, or you don't feel like you've done a great job. You don't feel like you bring value. And enough of that, enough. Because there is no one who is going to affirm you the way you need to be affirmed. Forget about our happiness depending on other people. Whereby if people have told you many good things in that day is good. If people have told you few things, then that day is not good. Be the one to speak in your day by speaking to yourself, speaking to your mind. Look into that mirror and affirm how energetic you are, how you finish the tasks you begin, how you are the one who does exceedingly in every assignment given, and see how that affirmation will change everything that is coming along in your day. And of course, also the other thing is us being able to document or journal down, have a gratitude journaling practice where you journal the things that you are thankful for. Many times we go through the day and there are quite a number of things that have happened, and naturally as humans, we are inclined to see the bad things, the things that have not gone well. Think of any event, be it a wedding. While I was preparing this, I thought about places where we go. And I thought of a wedding, a random wedding, where you attend this wedding and maybe the food had a lot of salt. Like all the dishes that they served that day had a lot of food, of salt. Like the salt was just not bearable. If you remember that wedding, you will remember that. Like that is what you will remember. The salt was much. But yet, there are so many good things that happened that you are not able to remember, and you're only remembering the things that are bad. And I want to channel us now, because you're remembering only the bad triggers how you think. It triggers everything. Now, that is just to the wedding, but just imagine the things that have gone on in your life, the bad things, because bad things happen to us. And if your mind is constantly moving on those, that means it's going to be affecting everything that you're going to do. If you have failed a test and you consider yourself a failure because that has happened in your life, or you grew up as an orphan and therefore you're constantly apologizing, you're constantly feeling like you're taking up spaces, and so you feel like you're not good enough given the fact that you have had some bad experiences in your life. Now, flip it the other way around. Think about yourself in the positive, the things that have happened to you. So think about the things that have happened in your life, the various episodes, just like life brings it. Myself, I had a family that I was a part of. And of course, in my life, I look at my life and I see, of course, the bad and the good things. Just like any of us, life does not present only the good things. It presents the bad and good. But the danger is when you dwell on the bad, it informs everything that you do in that direction. But the thing is, we need to be able to focus on the good, because that gets us to unlock our mind to see opportunity, to see love, to see care, to see people around us and appreciate them. My story, I didn't get the opportunity to grow up with my parents. I did not have that opportunity to have my mother, to have my father as present to take care of me. And so I grew up in different families, I think over 12 of them. And one would be like, you know what, I am not good enough. I did not get a chance to have my parents raise me, instruct me, teach me, love on me, show me all the care. And so you start to have bitterness within you because you did not have that chance at life. But look at it. I got the opportunity to have sponsorship, to go through school. There are people who have both their parents, they have a thriving family, but then they don't have the opportunity to finish school, something that I had. And so I imagine if I dwelled on the fact that I don't have my parents, I don't have a nuclear family that I grew up in, be parents who are constantly loving me and taking care of me. Like, you can choose to focus on that because it's reality. It happened in your life. You can choose to focus on that instead of focusing on the positive things. But you know very well that what we feed our mind is what we act on. And that is why it is very important for us as stewards to write and journal. Have a gratitude journal where you write down the things that have happened in your life. You will see how much you need to record as a person. And before you know it, your mind is also registering those more than the negatives that are going on in your life. So it is something that I appreciated, and I thank God that I was able to see that in my life, see the positive things that have happened in my life instead of dwelling on the negative. Of course, earlier on, before I understood this, I kept feeling like apologizing for taking up spaces because you don't feel good enough, given your history, given your background, given where you've come from. And of course, some of these stories are told to us and you're like, oh my God, like, I don't like how my early childhood looked like, or how I don't know what is going on in your life as a person, or the things that you don't like to see. My whole point is, do not focus on the negative that is happening in your life. Focus on the positive, because your mind will think, it will act on the things that you are giving it to think. What you take in is what comes out. What you entertain as a person is what comes out. And that leads me now to our third practice that we need to have: replacing the negative thoughts with the positive. Negative thoughts, we cannot prevent them from coming. In fact, they come when we don't even know it. But do not allow them to stay. Because the moment you allow the negative, sometimes you wake up and you're just like, I don't feel good. And maybe you don't feel good enough in that moment because of what has happened. If that thought comes into your mind, some of the thoughts I can think about the times when we fail, and immediately you count yourself a failure. You count yourself as one who cannot be able to make it in life. And yet, that is just something that has happened in that time. It does not communicate that you are going to be a failure for all your life. But I want you to focus on the positive things that have happened, because the mind is very powerful. The moment you give it the negative energy, the negative words that you have believed, the negative feelings that you have taken in and allowed, that is going to be you, because as you think, so you are. And that is why it is very important for us to journal down the good things that have happened, so that those good things can inform our decisions, they can inform our attitude, they inform everything, the choices that we make. And of course, moving on to our third practice, where we replace the negative thoughts with a positive. Of course, we cannot stop those negative thoughts from coming into our mind, but what we can do is we can stop them from staying, taking root in us. When they come to us, we have to recognize and affirm, because some of these come as lies. If I am born, for example, if I'm not raised by my mom, by my dad, does that make me not good enough? If I fail a test, does that make me a failure? But isn't that what our mind tells us? Our mind tells us that when we fail at something, that means we are failures. Even when we are trying to take on another assignment, another job opportunity, if you have been fired on your job opportunity and you can't continue with it, somehow when you are applying another job, you feel denied, you feel not accepted, you feel like you're a failure. But yet that is just an incident that happened. It should not be able to define you. because it's going to show up in everything that you do. The way you are speaking, the way you're approaching life, it is going to be as though you are not confident enough to take up the spaces. And this is where we try to address the lies that have come into our minds by giving them the truth. So as a person, what are some of those things that you believe you are, regardless of what has happened to you? What are some of those things? And that is why, as a person, I had to write down some values. Those values redirect. I am resilient. That is one of my values. I am resilient. And so the times when I feel like I'm about to give up, I feel like my mind is playing me, I speak that I am resilient, and therefore I will go forward in this situation and in this time. And that helps me to be able to make a stride. We are living in this life, and so much is going on in our world. So much is happening. You must arrest those thoughts, because we now know the power of the mind. Many people want a productive life, but they're not actually very much aware about how dangerous their thought life is. You can do everything right, but for as long as your mind is not, it will just follow suit. Because even if you went for that opportunity, that job opportunity, but your mind is constantly communicating, who are you to step into those places? Who are you to even apply for that job? Who are you to even take up that space? Automatically, you enter that place and you feel out of place. You feel like you're not empowered enough to be able to take up these spaces. And yet these are spaces for you. You are meant to take up those spaces. And the moment your mind shifts, oh my. I happened to witness someone. I met her, and immediately I saw that there is a different mind she is operating at. Like she was just, very elaborate. She would put up her point. She would put her point across. Some of us struggle to even put our point across, put our opinion forward. Like we just feel like, who am I to even speak? Already, your mind has disqualified you, and you're not even able to speak. You're not even able to bring out that is on your heart. Your point matters. Your opinion matters. It's just that there is something that is going on in your mind that you need to address. You need to address. And most of this is our negative thoughts, the disqualifying thoughts that we need to cut and put an end. I am on this journey because, again, this is a continued journey. It will never stop. And that's why we need to be conscious each and every time what is going on. I was so impressed when one of our leaders mentioned that there is nothing that you can ever say to them that can discourage them, because they have so much believed in their mind of who they are that you cannot alter that. You cannot change that. And that comes with work. It comes with practice for you to be able to do these three things that we've talked about today. One is for you to speak to yourself daily. You are your first person to affirm yourself. It is you to affirm yourself more. So speak life to yourself and clear your mind by speaking that life constantly, because what you speak is working on in your mind and you're able to live it out. And secondly, we said we are going to have a gratitude journal where we journal things that have gone well in our lives so that we can focus on those other than focusing on the negative things that are happening in our lives. Because it is very possible, we talked about the fact that it is very possible for you as a human to dwell on the negative and forget that there are other good things that have happened in your life. And yet we live life wanting more good things to happen, and yet we are dwelling more on the negative. So if you desire the positive things in your life, please focus your mind on the positive so that that channel is active and it is running for you, because it does us a lot of harm whenever we focus on the negative things that are going on in our lives. And thirdly, we have also talked about the fact that we need to replace the negative thoughts with the positive Write down things that you believe so deeply about you and be able to affirm them whenever those lies come, the truth that you know. One of the things that I will say back to that thought is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Immediately, there is a change, there is a shift, because I relate to that statement, to that phrase, to that scripture very personally, knowing very well that I am enough because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then, of course, there is this that comes that you are always a failure. I am always a failure. In that moment, I will say every opportunity comes with success. It comes with a challenge. It comes with success. And so I'm able to know that not every opportunity will be a success and not every opportunity will be a failure. And I will rise regardless of what has happened. So that helps to clear my mind. Instead of taking yourself to be a failure, you take yourself to be one who is ready to face anything because you have already trained your mind. And again, this is not something that can happen in just a day or two. This is work. Like, it's constantly you speaking to your mind, because your mind is where everything starts. It's where everything starts, like it or not. And that is why, as a steward, you have to sit back and ask yourself some of those lies that you have believed, because those lies are informing your actions every day. They're informing your choices every day. And that is why it is important for you and I to constantly work on our mind. There is power in you stewarding your mind. Guard it, grow it, and ensure that you are moving in a liberated move, a liberated mind, because that's the place where we win from. That is the place where we win from. There is this book called The Mind Being the Battlefield. It is indeed a battlefield. And that is why every day we wake up and speak to ourselves and focus on the things that are going on well, and then continue to replace the negatives with the positives. I invite you on this journey. I wonder, what are some of those things that you need to uproot as a person, the thought lines that you need to uproot as a person. Those are the things that you need to address so that you can start to gear up and live this kind of life that you have been called. Knowing very well that we as people, we like to advise other people. We like to speak to other people. And we thrive so much in doing that. But today we are going to go back and now be the advisors of ourselves. Sit down and ask yourself questions and be able to suggest responses, because your mind needs to be healthy. I think of the mind as a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. When you plant the negative thoughts, your garden is going to not be flourishing. Like, it won't be able to grow the best. Just think of a garden with me. A garden with seeds that are negative, with seeds that are not good, that garden will not flourish. And that is what has been happening to us when we are clouded in our mind with so many negative thoughts. I am challenging myself as well as challenging you to have the right seeds, the right thoughts, so that our garden can flourish, that we become we become so in check with ourselves that we can be able to help other people. We can be able to address the issues happening in other people's lives, because you have been able to clear your mind and you're able to think straight. You're able to have better choices and therefore better actions, and you're able to help yourself and then help other people. It's my desire that we'll be able to arise in that area, because it's very powerful. We've listened to so many people talk about the mind, the mind, the mind, the mind. It is time for us to act on the mind and be able to have this garden well cultivated to a point that it can give us fruits a fruitful mind will help you to accomplish so much. A discouraged mind drains, and a fearful mind delays action. And that is why, as stewards, we are going to make this intentional, working on our mind so that our mind serves us right. Well, until then, see you on the next episode. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is the channel for you who is walking towards changing your journey, changing your life, and making sure that you are living to your fullest potential. Let's continue to steward that purpose because it's very important.